Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I love checking projects off my list, and we're going to be checking a project off the list today. I'm going to be building up another Lortone NS8 Arbor, like we've already done in the past. I'm going to be mostly focused on the assembly and restoration of an arbor. So if you happen to have picked up an arbor yourself, you're looking at this as a potential project for yourself, you can follow along with what I have here. So there'll be all the details for that. But before we get into today's build, let's talk about this thing here. This is my fully completed, finished NS8 Arbor, which is a 8-inch arbor system. So let's look at this real quick, and I'll explain to you why maybe you want to build up a machine like this, because I think it has a lot of benefits that you're not going to get elsewhere. This here is my completed arbor with 8-inch expandable drum wheels on it, with my homemade diamond belts. I'll throw some links in here if you want to see this. So look at this space that we have here. We have a ton of space to work on both sides. So you can hold something that's kind of a weird shape, a weird long rock without having to hit other wheels. And it's nice because of the shape of the actual arbor is good. I elevated it on an aluminum block, and I did all of this myself. The restoration of the arbor, the design of this housing, the design of the water system, all of that. It is all entirely broken down in a 2-hour-long video that you can watch over on Patreon. If you want to support this project and you like these types of things, you can do all of this yourself. But the core of it is this. This is an NS8 Arbor, and I think it is a superior system for working. I think when you see what my plan is here in the future for these, you're probably going to want one yourself. I suggest you scoop one of these up if you can. Real quick though, used arbor, expandable drum wheels, diamond belts I built, all of this aluminum. I designed and built this housing myself, did all the bends on a brake press from Harbor Freight. The pan is a giant industrial baking pan on a wooden base with a drain that goes out there. The motor is a Dayton farm motor, a 3/4 horsepower motor that I got used, lightly used on Facebook Marketplace. Lock line system, real simple power system. It's just a very simple design that I put together over a whole winter. Kind of when I could find a good deal, I bought it. And you could do the same thing. This is a little bit of a better view of an arbor that I've fully restored, and that will be being built into my second machine. And you can kind of see here we have this open back with a pulley. I have my hard wheels, which I plan on running on it moving forward. I didn't repaint or do anything to this because it was in pretty good condition. I just rebuilt the interior, the internals, and we will have this permanently mounted up here on the bench, probably kind of in this orientation. I already have a lot of the other aspects for it, like, you know, the motor and all of those good things. But what we want to talk about in today's video is you bought one of these on Facebook, eBay, Craigslist, wherever, an estate, and you want to get it up and restored. So we're going to go do that with my third arbor. I have everything here. This is what these look like on the inside of the housing. This one had a really terrible paint job on it. It was the old Lortone yellow. The label is all gone. So I decided to sand and paint and clear coat this a nice navy blue. But this is the front side, back side, and this is where you can really kind of see how amazing this is designed. They've got new bearings, new hardware, isolators, pulley axle, snap rings. We got some tools here. We're gonna get to assembling this, and when all is said and done, we'll have that guy mounted up in there, and it will be perfect. It will be a perfect arbor, ready and waiting for me to build it out into its own machine. These are the bearing isolators, and they're very nice and squishy still. I've heard of some people cleaning these up and getting them soft and squishy again by throwing them in antifreeze. I haven't tried that, but that's a thing that is said. We are replacing the bearings. Anytime you get one of these and you want to, well, work on it and do a restoration, just throw the bearings out, And if you're curious on how this thing fully comes apart, we'll be showing you here. This is what that bearing is. If you're looking to find these, Kingsley North is currently selling them at the time of filming this, but that's you know, subject to change, of course. The axle is not a stainless steel, and it doesn't need to be. And these isolators will fit into the housing here, and it really like takes up all of the kind of imperfections in the system, and we'll have a nice, beautiful, smooth running arbor. Let's start some assembly though. First step's going to be putting this pulley on. This gets a little set screw, and we're going to be Loctiting it in place. I don't use Loctite branded Loctite. I use this stuff, this blue thread locker. I like the Permatex. Don't use the other colors. You definitely want to use blue, or you're going to be hating life. We'll get that nice firm on there. And there we go. Pulley is on. So now we got to shove these bearings into these rubber isolators, which can be extremely difficult, but we'll make it happen. You just kind of, there's no real nice, easy way to do it. You just got to kind of force them in. Yeah, maybe I'll help that out with a little prying action. Oh yeah, there we go. That'll get in there. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Get in there. Okay, so now you can see what that looks like. Very nice, very nice. Do that to the other one. On one side of the bearing you have set screws, on the other side you don't. Set screws go facing in on both sides. They face towards the pulley. Now we're going to put some snap rings on here. This is a snap ring if you haven't seen these before. And obviously if you're looking at taking this thing apart, you're reversing it. So, you know, the last thing on is the first thing off. There's no easy way to do snap rings without snap ring pliers. I just have this from Harbor Freight, and we use external snap ring pliers, and these little divots here, right? Those little divots go in the holes, and then we can spread that out, right? And put that over the axle on both sides. And the snap rings go into that groove there, and that is on. Now the bearing's on here and loose, kind of bouncing between the pulley and the snap ring. One side of the axle has right-hand threaded threads, and the other one has left-handed threaded threads. You want to make sure it's orientated so the left is on the left and the right is on the right, and usually in a general indicator of what a left-hand threaded nut is, you'll see these little marks in it. If yours doesn't have that, well, it's probably, I don't know, are cheaper nuts made without that? But we want to double check here, right? So we want to go, it's very counterintuitive. Come on. That's why we're checking. There we go. Lefty tighty. And there we go. Okay, so it needs to go on like this. And we're going to take our housing here, the back side of the housing, and these isolator bearings get shoved right in like that. Yeah. And now, any mistakes in the casting, any mistakes in the axle, anything at all will get kind of evened out with the bearings, the isolators on these. Now that they're properly, we're going to get this nice and positioned just right in here. We're going to look at the gap between our snap rings, and we will use an Allen key here, and we'll get these tight on here, and well, we'll be mostly there. We'll put the front side on. Once you have it kind of held in place, we're going to take and put we're going to back out the set screw, but not all the way, because it's going to hit the isolator. We're going to put a drop of Loctite blue on there, and then we will drive it home, and it will bring a little bit of Loctite in with it, and just kind of not super tight, about that tight is all we need. And then we'll go around and we'll kind of back out the other ones, and we'll put some Loctite on them. Take our front half here and put this over it and see how everything kind of lines up, and we'll squish in place. Look at that. Obviously we got to put our hardware in, but we're kind of starting to look like a real arbor here. Nice and smooth. Love it. So it's held together, the two sides, with 2 bolts there, 2 bolts there, and 2 down at the bottom, 1 on each side. Typically when you get these, they're going to come and they're going to have some hex hardware, and you can reuse it. I don't particularly care for it. Generally, they're not in the best shape anymore, and I also think that sometimes they, over there at Lortone, they would actually use these to cut the threads, and some of it's very mushed in there. So we're going to fix that. Thankfully with this one, we're not going to chase threads at all. We're just going to be using, replacing it with some stainless steel socket caps. I believe this is 1 inch and 1 inch and 3/4 inch. So 1 inch up at the top with washers. We're going to do washers on these, just like that, and put those in there. You will be able to see the washers, but overall, I think it's worth it in the long run. Now, anytime we're doing something mixed metals, so aluminum and stainless, we're going to put on a little bit of this stuff, which is anti-seize. We're going to put some of this, just a little dab, on the threads as we put those in to make sure we can get it back out later. I might be wrong here, but when you have mixed metals, there will be a little bit of oxidization happening, and it just kind of like wants to fuse them together. We don't want that. Also, gloves are nice because anti-seize has a way of getting on just about everything. Just need a little bit. And that'll get brought into the housing there. And we're not going to tighten this down all the way. The goal here is to get all of the hardware in, and we're going to kind of treat it like a tire, right, or a wheel on a car, you know. And we're going to tighten them all around at the same time. Get one in, put the rest in, and we'll wrench it all down. Check this out. Doesn't that look good? I'm happy with this. Okay, but we're not done yet. We're all assembled here. You might notice there's like some little reveal issues here, and that is, you can kind of see there, they would paint these fully assembled. So if you took your 2 halves apart and painted it, well, there might be a little bit of a little bit there. But this is a tool. It doesn't have to be, we're not restoring an old car, right? Like, there can be some hiccups along the way. The next part, though, is a little difficult, and I'm willing to help you out with it. Check it out. We need to make some wheel spacers that will align the wheels on the Arbor. Generally, they come with metal ones, but these often get lost or separated or become a rusty, terrible ring. We're going to be making some out of aluminum. I have wheel spacers on this Arbor. I have one left, but I have 2 Arbors. So we're going to make some of these. And if you need spacers yourself and you're not able to do what I'm about to show you right now, you can always reach out to me, currently rockhounding@gmail.com, and I can probably get some spacers out to you. Because as far as I can tell, nobody sells these. Nobody's putting in the effort or whatever to make them and sell them. So I'll just do it like, you know, we'll figure something out. But yeah, okay, spacers. On this Arbor, you can kind of see there's a metal flange and a metal spacer. And that spacer on both sides aligns my wheels under my water, which comes down out the back there. And without that, the wheel would be over more. I don't want that. I want them to be aligned how they are. And with this cone here, this football shape, it means like if you're working on something weird, you don't hit. Here, you can see, maybe, right there, the snap ring in there on the axle. The wheel's just pushed up against it as an example. You can do that, but having a spacer in there is ideal. We're going to duplicate this for both of these. So to try to make this at home could be really hard for you. To cut something perfectly round with perfectly 90-degree sides, because this is going to be sandwiched between your snap ring and your wheel, you really have to have something like this. And I don't expect anybody to have metal cutting bandsaws, let alone a big piece of thick aluminum pipe. I believe this is 1 1/8 here in OD, the outside diameter. Yeah, let's make a couple. These are the 4 spacer rings I just made, and we can kind of throw these on here. So they will go on like that and be between the set ring and the wheel and that, and then we can get a nice alignment. And these are 1/2 inch, but I can always cut whatever size I want. Here's a good example of why those wheel spacers matter so much. Here's just a kind of standard cab wheel. This inside hole though, if you see there, it's really thick. It takes up a lot of space on the axle. It's 1 1/4 inch here, 1 1/4 inch. As opposed to a wheel like this, that's like, is that even 1/2 inch? Like 3/16 of an inch or something? In theory, both of these can go on there. Everything's gonna be a little bit different, and the spacers are nice if you don't have an easy way of pushing the water on the wheel from side to side. Like if you're just using a brass fitting to drip, if you're using lock line, different things, you gotta have those spacers. Now you could, if you don't want to do what I showed you here, if you don't want to reach out to me or whatever, you could stack washers. You could get some 3/4 inch inside diameter fender washers and stack them and push your wheels in and out like that. So, well, you know, I hope you found this to be helpful. Maybe it takes a little bit of the edge off of kind of doing these kinds of DIY projects yourself. You can save an insane amount of money building out your own lapidary machines. And then in many ways, they're more versatile. You know, everything that you saw here, from the isolators, the bearings, the pulleys, the axle could be remade. You can get motors from Harbor Freight, Facebook Marketplace, all kinds of different things. And if you ever have a problem, well, you know exactly what to do to handle it. There's going to be some links down below this video, and we'll leave this one here, everybody. Go check out the website, currently rockhounding.com. And if you're able to support this project financially, I really do appreciate it. And you can do that by heading on over to Patreon. There'll be links down below. All right, y'all. You guys take care, and I'll catch you in the next video.